Hello there. It's Loren, and I'm coming to you live from Tanglewood in Costa Rica. It's a beautiful Friday morning, although right now there's a little bit of cloud cover. So it's been pretty sunny up until now. We may see the sun come back out. It's hard to say. This is a busy time of year here. Busy in terms of rain, I mean. It's a rainy time of year. Now, it rains for 7 months here, but most of the rainy season, we get about an hour of rain per day. And this time of year, we get a little bit more than that. So maybe a little bit less sun than we normally see. Frankly, I'm kind of happy about that because we've been planting trees and we're trying to take advantage. You know, we're running out of rainy season. The rainy season ends right around the beginning of December. And so anything we plant now, we've got maybe 2.5 months of rain left. And by this time next week, we won't be planting anything else. Unless, you know, it's right around the buildings where we can water it easily. With 10 acres here and more soon, we'll talk about that. It's pretty hard for us to adequately water everything that's not close by. So in the last 2 weeks or so, we've put in maybe 40 or 50 fruit trees, and we keep thinking we're out of space, and then we keep finding a little bit more. So we're now filling all the little holes and thinking, oh, you know, we could take out that tree. That's not really very useful. Like, for instance, some of the Creole varieties of guavas, which they're beautiful trees, but they really don't produce much in terms of edible fruit. And so we're taking some of those out, where we have some of those, and putting in fruit trees that are actually going to produce something that we can use. And we've been able to find some varieties we didn't have. So over the last just the last week, in fact, we've put in several more varieties of mangoes. We've put in several varieties of avocados. We've put in some more citrus. This is citrus country because we're up high here, high for Costa Rica, and so where we can grow a lot of things. Things like mangoes are actually happiest at sea level. We put in more mangoes anyway. We're going to put in everything we want here. But the citrus is really happy here because it likes the cooler temperatures. And so we've put in some different varieties of oranges, different varieties of tangerines, another type of lime. Put in something called jocote, which is a local native fruit that you don't see so much of. It's one of those things I've never really seen exported. They're pretty good. The little things about this big, and we've got some of those going in, putting some tamarind, a different kind of annona, a different kind of papaya. We already have hundreds of papayas, but a couple different varieties, and we're putting a new variety in as well. And so it's so exciting to see that because, you know, it just means we're closer and closer. We're also trying some figs again. I don't know about you, but I love figs. And figs aren't really tropical fruits. They're Mediterranean fruits. They do better in that climate. They can handle heat quite well, but they also like some colder weather and maybe not quite so much rain because they tend to grow in drier climates. And so we probably, in fact, need to take a look and see that we're planting them. Just occurred to me. I let the guys go ahead and decide where to put some things in. We've planted, I think, 3 or 4 fig trees, but we probably need to make sure that they're in places where the soil drains really, really well, so they're not staying any wetter than necessary, because they may not do as well as some of the trees that are more native to here. You know, because I love them, we keep trying them. Same with durian. You know, we're not really the best climate for durian here. They'd be better off where it was hotter and more humid than we are. And yet we keep trying. I'm going to keep on planting them until we get a whole bunch of them that take. And eventually we may wind up, eventually we will wind up with a piece of land that's lower and hotter, maybe in the big project, which I'll talk about in a minute. And we can set aside some land there to plant trees, you know, some fruit trees that would be happier with the heat and humidity than we get up here. And that'll just increase the range of things that we can produce. So it's so exciting because, you know, every day, I mean, yesterday I harvested a few papayas from our own plants. We're constantly harvesting papayas and bananas and tomatoes and passion fruits, and there's more things coming all the time. And it's so cool to watch these trees developing, you know, just watching the landscape changing so dramatically over these last few years. It's very cool to do. If you haven't had the opportunity to plant fruit trees, you need to do it, because there's nothing like seeing your own trees, not seeing them produce, but harvesting the fruit and eating it right off the trees. It's incredible. Right out here on my patio, I'm in my little living room here, right here in the patio, I have a guanabana tree. Now, I'm not a huge guanabana fan, but I planted it because it was a small tree and we didn't have, at the time, other guanabanas around. And so we now have several, but this tree is the oldest. And right now it's probably got, it's hard to count them all because I've got a roof, and so you can't, most of the branches are above the roof. It's a little hard to look. We can't take a big step back because it's a walled garden. But there's got to be at least 30 fruits that are forming. Now, they may not all make it. Sometimes what happens is before they completely mature, they fall off the tree. And that's just what, maybe the tree can't support them all right now because it's still pretty small, pretty young. 5 years old, I guess, something like that. But it's so exciting to see this happening, more and more stuff coming in. We also, I had planned for years now. I usually see a place. As you may know, I've used to buy and renovate houses and used to own small apartment buildings and have done several properties, for Tanglewood that we've been headquartered at as we moved over the last 22 and a half years. And each time I take something that's, maybe not the most beautiful place you ever saw and turn it into something really incredible. And this place is certainly becoming that. It's spectacularly beautiful here. And that's a comment that we hear all the time from our clients. And what we're doing now is changing the entry. So if you were here before, when you approached, we had a little metal gate, 2 gates that we could open up, only maybe a meter off the ground or so. And now we have a new little piece of concrete drive that comes to a wall that separates the property from the road, at least in front of the buildings. And then there's a big teak gate as well as a teak door. And when you come in, there's a little area there where there'll be a little garden. We have a building where we have mountain bikes for our guests to use when they're not fasting. And there's going to be a little garden there with a fountain we just put in on a wall, and then a screen, and you'll actually drive through an opening into a garage. We used to have some covered parking, but most of that land where the cars were parked was actually on the state property. They put a fence in, but the fence was actually on state property, barbed wire fence with the right of way. And so when we built the wall, we can only build the wall on the property line, not over the property line. That meant we lost most of that space. So we now have a whole covered parking area, and we're doing some little gardens inside of there and a garden out front. And it's exciting stuff, for me. I love watching the transformation in my clients, but one of the things I really enjoy, it's a hobby for me, is turning what was one of the ugliest places I'd ever seen into one of those most beautiful places I know of. And we have a second fountain. So we just installed 2 fountains actually this week, and they're not operating yet. One of them is going to get some tile on its face. It's on a wall, a little one. And then the larger one is standalone inside the garden, inside the wall. But we need to hardwire the pump, and that's not done yet. The electrician will be here hopefully in a few days, and then we'll have both of those operating. So let me stop jabbering and see who's here and say hello to some folks that have joined us. Sunny, good to see you. Sunny Johanna. Kicking rocks and stuff. Hello there. Good morning to you. Bakul, hello. Raw Garlic. Hey, I am indeed well. Thanks so much. I hope you're well too. Nice to see you too, Sunny. Buenos dias. Casey Allen, good to see you. Good day to you. Todd, hello there from cold Lima, Peru. Wow. It can't be that cold in Lima, is it? Well, I guess Lima's pretty high. I was there actually about 2 years ago now, I think. But it was summertime, so it wasn't too cold. Hello there, Sunny. Good to see you. Bakul says, what's the best fruit available in Costa Rica? Well, that's a difficult question to answer. I was just talking about the fruit trees we've been planting, what we have so far. And currently on our site, we've now, with this last week and these things I was just talking about that we've just added, we're now up to around 120 or 125 varieties. The truth is I'm going to have to count and see. We lose some trees each year that don't make it through the dry season. or whatever the conditions are. That's just what happens. Some percentage of them don't make it. But I think we now have around 120 varieties, something like that. And there's some amazing things. I mean, of course, mangoes are the most popular fruit in the world, and there's a good reason for that. They have a lot of sugar. They taste amazing. We've got probably 7 or 8 varieties planted here now, something like that. Some of them are incredible. It's hard to. Now, we're not harvesting most of our mangoes yet because the trees are too young. It takes 5 or 6 years for most trees to start fruiting. And most of the trees we've planted have only been in the ground for 2-3 years. So we have some that fruit and are delicious, but there'll be even more later on. But there are so many things here that are delicious. It's hard to say. And we have durian trees, again, not fruiting. Jackfruit trees, which will be fruiting soon. Rolinias, which are in the Annona family and one of my favorite fruits. We've got a bunch of those in the ground, and they should start fruiting in the next year or so, most of those. We have some delicious mulberries. We have a lot of granadas. We have a lot of really, really good fruits. Pineapples and papayas, one of my all-time favorites. We have probably 4 or 5 varieties of papayas now. So hard to say. They're all incredible, really. Delicious things. Hablando español, inglés hoy. Hoy estoy en inglés y mañana estamos acá en español. Rain is awesome to play in. Well, honestly, I have to say I don't do that much playing in the rain anymore. You're right. It's been a lot of fun in the past. I enjoy very much. I mean, it rains here. Sometimes it rains really hard, and it's gorgeous. I love it. I love the thunderstorms too, but I'm usually sitting inside watching or sitting outside, under a roof. I mean, most of our living space is actually kind of inside outside. Here I'm in an apartment where I can close the doors, but I've got a patio right here where I can sit and watch the rainfall. And it's spectacularly beautiful. And of course, our main living area where I do my normal YouTube videos, that space is open on 2 sides of the garden, so you can hear and see the rain as well. Hello there, Adriana from San Jose, California. Nice to see you. Thoughts on benefits, negatives of pineapple? Well, all fruits are good for us. They've got high water content, tons of nutrients, minerals, vitamins, enzymes, phytonutrients. I don't know of any negatives. Obviously, if pineapple's not fully ripe, it's highly acidic and can burn your tongue, and you want to be careful with that. Unfortunately, even here, most of the pineapples are picked for export because they're worth $5, $6 in the US and maybe $1 here. So they pick them for export. If they can't sell them, they get sold for export. They get sold on the local market. We're harvesting pineapples, but not enough to meet our needs. We've probably brought in 20 pineapples this week, and we're not harvesting nowhere near that many. So eventually, maybe we'll be able to produce all of our own, and that would be ideal. But in the meantime, I had one 2 days ago that really was, burned my tongue. It was a little too much. Other than that, I don't know of any negatives whatsoever. Let's see. Christian says, good to see you live. Been listening to you about 2 years. Thanks so much for your work and advice. You're very welcome, Christian. Thanks so much for your kind comments. I really appreciate, that you've been paying attention, and hopefully that this has been useful for you. I guess you're still here. It must be. Sunny Johanna says, one leg of mine is 1 centimeter longer than the other one. A friend told me that fasting could really help. Have you ever heard of such a case? Well, first of all, almost everyone's legs are different lengths, and 1 centimeter isn't that much. So it's not unusual at all to see that. It's certainly possible that fasting can help as it allows you to become hydrated for the first time. Really hydrated. Getting really hydrated, I don't think is possible without cleaning out the body first. And getting hydrated is a key factor, because until you get hydrated, if you're tight, it may never be completely balanced, and it may never be completely balanced anyway, but it would certainly help you. The key is to fast long enough and correctly, and like anyone else knowledgeable about fasting, I would always recommend having experienced guidance, because it makes a huge difference to your process, whether you do or don't get the benefits you want. Elena says, hello from the UK. Hello, Elena. Well, thanks so much, Gavin. I appreciate that. Gavin says, love this guy. I appreciate that very much. Bakul says, Does fasting help with musculoskeletal issues like sciatica and spine problems? Absolutely. The thing about fasting, for anyone here that's relatively new to this, you want to get clear that our bodies, like every other organism, are completely self-cleansing and self-healing. What differentiates fasting from everything else is that fasting simply allows the body the optimal conditions to cleanse and heal. So it's not magic. It's not doing anything that the body can't do. It's simply that the body may not be able to do what it needs to do as long as we're still eating. It's not that fasting is making it happen. It's that fasting is allowing the body the energy and time it needs without having to do so much else. So it's able to focus on and accomplish what it needs to accomplish. And so anything that can heal is going to heal more efficiently and more effectively with fasting. It's what I have done every time I've needed to heal anything for the last 32 years. Fasting is my go-to. It's the first thing I do. It's usually the only thing I do, in fact, over and over again. Let me see here. In Germany, it's so cold now, I can imagine, although it's still early. I mean, it's technically, today is the autumn solstice, the equinox. So we have an equal day and night tomorrow, I guess. And so I would think it wouldn't be that cold yet, but maybe you're up in the north somewhere. Maybe it's cold everywhere in Germany. Maybe there's a cold snap. I'm not paying much attention to the weather in Germany, frankly, but I hope it's not too bad. Let's see. Avocados, you got me. Yeah, avocados are amazing. How long does it take to get fruit from the avocado trees? They, like most other trees, they take about 5, 6 years or so, something like that. Hello, Cross Joe, good to see you. Noni, we have some noni trees. We planted a couple noni trees. I find noni fruit to be completely disgusting and have no interest in eating it, but I do want to grow everything we can grow here. So we're growing noni, even though I personally have no desire to eat the stuff. We do have some trees. Coconut water is great. Spring water is perfect. Spring water, when your body wants water, it's spring water. Coconut water is actually food because it contains calories and nutrients. And so there's nothing wrong with it. It's good stuff, but I wouldn't consider it water. And I wouldn't, it's not something you want to constantly be drinking throughout the day, because if you are, your digestive tract is constantly working. The body is constantly dealing with the intake of nutrients, and you're much better off having that happen in a very limited window. So most of my consumption, I mean, it's not a hard and fast rule that I never veer from, but in most cases, all of my caloric, intake happens in a 4 or 5 hour window every day for like 26 years now, almost 27 years. And that's what works best. That's what I'd recommend doing for anyone. And, it just depends. By the way, thank you very much. I see there's a few of you who have given this the thumbs up. If you're enjoying yourself, please do thumbs up it and feel free to share it too, because this is, once we're done here, the recording's available and you can share this. Maybe you can share it even now. I'm not really sure how that works, to be honest, but this will be posted on Facebook. And so you can certainly go there and share on Facebook and maybe even share it here. Again, I'm so non-technical, it's kind of absurd. What about herbal food like nettle, dandelion, etc.? I'm not a huge fan of the herbs. You can eat them, but there's no reason to. You can if you want to. I eat soft, tender, non-strong tasting leafy greens like lettuce, and we'll buy whatever varieties we can get. Usually organic, because they're pretty heavily sprayed. We grow as much as we can here, although we haven't been working on that recently. We have a volunteer that normally handles growing the greens, and he's been away for the summer. And so it's time to, and I've been away myself until just about 5 weeks ago. I was gone. It's time for us to go back and replant some of those. We'll be doing that in the next few weeks or so, most likely. What's your take on traditional Chinese medicine that talks about balance in all aspects? It says that raw fruits are too cooling and not beneficial in the long run. So thanks for your question, Christian. And I don't mean to be the least bit disrespectful, but honestly, I won't beat around the bush either. I believe in being direct. So I will say that that's nonsense. That every species on the planet eats a raw diet. The only animal that eats cooked food is us, out of 25 million, and the ones we give it to. And they're the only animals that are as sick as humans are. Cooking destroys nutrients and creates toxic compounds. And so, the idea that traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda says that some people need to consume cooked food makes no sense whatsoever. It just makes no sense. The fact is that every species has a natural species-specific diet that its body is intended for. And our bodies are intended, like our closest primate relatives, to eat fruit and soft, tender, leafy greens. And anything else is really unnecessary and likely harmful to us. And so I get it that they don't agree with that, but that's my truth, and I've seen it work now over. In November it'll be 28 years for me. I've not been sick. I still maintain my girlish figure. I mean, I wear the same size clothes I wore in high school. I'm strong and fit and have tons of energy. And there's no issue with cooling foods. I mean, we're tropical animals. We're meant to be in the tropics. So if they cool us, that's probably helpful. If you're living somewhere else, there's still so many benefits to eating fruit and so many negative aspects of eating anything else. I would eat fruit and wear more clothes if necessary. But I never found this, my first 14 years living this way, half of my time living this way, I lived outside of Washington, D.C., where we had a cold winter. It's humid there, so even though it didn't get much below 0 Celsius, 32 Fahrenheit most of the time, that felt pretty cold there. And yet it was no problem for me living raw, completely raw, for all those years. And I've got clients doing this in Sweden and Finland and Norway and around the world, in 120 some countries. This works anywhere, and it works better than anything else. So I simply don't believe that they're right about this. I think they're completely mistaken. Nice to see you too, Alfredo. Glad to see you here. Hope you're doing well. Uh-oh, why does that happen? I go to move it just a little bit and it moved way up. Let me see here. So I'm trying to scroll back down and figure out where I was. There's a lot more comments here than I thought there were. Here we go. Okay. Figs don't flower. The fruit is the flower. It's so cool. Yeah, figs are amazing, amazing, amazing things. Christian, in my view, Chinese medicine is more focused towards managing your forest with all its impurities, much better than actually detoxing the forest. Exactly, much better to actually get your body clean, and then then we can do what our bodies were really intended for, and that's what we find works best. We have, of course, I've worked with more than 10,000 clients now, and so many of them had tried traditional Chinese medicine, had tried Ayurveda. There's no system, there's no program, there's no diet that I found that works better for anyone, not for any single person. I mean, every single person who's been willing to fast long enough and properly thrives eating this same diet that every human being, like every other species, there's one diet per species that every human being thrives on. I've seen every single person so far who's done this and been willing to do what they need to thrive doing it. So I agree completely. James says, do you sleep on the floor like a true health pro? No, and there's no reason to sleep on the floor. If I lived in nature, James, I wouldn't sleep on a rock if I had a bunch of moss or a pile of leaves nearby. Okay, there's nothing wrong with sleeping on something soft. That does not hurt your back. What hurts your back is having a dehydrated, inflexible spine. So when your spine is somehow curved because of the mattress, it winds up creating a problem. When your body is truly healthy, sleeping on something comfortable isn't a problem. Okay, there's no reason to sleep on the floor. I don't care how many so-called health pros say otherwise. I'll stand by my take on this. Let me see here. Hello, Rob. Good to see you. Glad to see that you're here. How bad is living in a big city? It's pretty bad, and it's about to get much worse. By the way, if any big city in the world within a few years is going to be 5G cell network, and that means there's a tower every couple blocks, which is putting out a level of radiation that is if I remember correctly, 10,000 times what the scientists who've looked at this say is actually safe. Okay, the only people saying it's safe are the people providing the service because they want you to buy it. I mean, it doesn't matter if you buy it or not. It's going to be everywhere. And you're going to have no privacy because this particular technology actually allows them to see inside of your home. Unless you've got lead walls, they can see you moving. They can see what you're doing. There literally will be no privacy whatsoever. And you know, aside from that, I mean, big cities are pretty toxic places to be. So I personally would never live in a city again. I do visit cities. When I travel and speak, I'm usually very happy to get out of them. I usually look for hotels. If I'm staying in a hotel that is on the edge of a park or a forest where there's air, you know, and maybe a little bit less of this damaging radiation, because this radiation, you know, Wi-Fi is the easy one because you can control your own Wi-Fi. Here we don't have any, but you're not going to be able to escape 5G if you live in a city. And for that reason alone, I would never live in a city again. Hello, Peter. Good to see you. Hello, Joe from Vancouver. Nice to see you here. Sonia says, hi, Loren. Good to see you live. Cannot believe you made it. Well, I'm glad you did. Good to see you here, Sonia. Anna says, hello from Victoria. Beautiful Victoria. Are you really a mermaid, Anna? Next time I come, I was in Victoria a year and a half ago. If I'd known you were a mermaid and knew you, I would have tried to find you. I've always wanted to be a mermaid. Arietta says, question, the fruit week in March is fasting or eating the fruit? It's eating the fruit. It's not fasting. You know, when we're not fasting people, we offer retreats here. And so there's a couple of options. First of all, Arietta, if you've never fasted, it's amazing. And we have a bunch of people that are coming to fast in February. And our fasting session ends on the 29th of February, and then they're staying over for the fruit festival. But the fruit festival is eating, okay? Where we'll have, there'll be fruit available all the time, although we'll sit down as a group for 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There'll be a snack in the afternoon. And there'll be fruit available all the time in 2 different locations. Anytime you want something, if you don't want to wait for a meal, you don't have to. I don't encourage people to graze all day, but you'll be able to do that if you want to do that. And we'll have up to 50 varieties of organic fruit. Amazing stuff. So if you can get here, the price goes up next week. We had a glitch with the website. So the price should have gone up back in mid-July, but we had a glitch with the website that was just corrected a week or so ago. And then I've kind of dragged my heels on getting a letter to our list. So the price will go up, and then it will be going up like every month until the event. The lowest prices are right now. So go to the website. You see if I can get that posted here. It's tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com. I think it's, you know what? Let me go find the link. See, oh, my computer is so slow. It's probably time to shut it down and reboot it. Maybe time to close some of the 50 windows that are open here. This should open in just a second. And as soon as it does, I will post a link here below for anyone interested. It's taking some time to open, but yeah, it's an amazing event. In addition to, there'll be yoga classes every day. We have the same amazing yoga teacher that was here last year will be back, and there'll be yoga classes every morning. There'll be, I'll give a lecture every day. There'll be a permaculture talk and tour. We have a beautiful campfire circle, and we'll be down there a couple nights. We'll have some live music. We'll spend a day at the highest waterfalls in Central America, which are very close by and part of our big project. We will spend a day at what is considered one of the most beautiful beaches in Costa Rica. And you know, it's a fantastic event, a great time. And it's not like one of these huge festivals. We call it a festival. Up until now, it's really probably been too small to qualify as a festival in anything except for my mind. But it's a great event, and it's small enough. I mean, this year, maybe there'll be 50 people there. I just posted a link. So if you scroll down, you'll see the link to the fruit festival. You can go to the page. This would be the time to do it if you want to come, because it's going to be the lowest prices ever. And we're running out of rooms. I mean, we do have camping space for 100 people, but the rooms are almost all taken. If you still want a room, you definitely want to get yourself reserved as quickly as you can, because room space is limited. Um, anyway, yeah, we'll spend a day at this spectacular beach. There's plenty of downtime as well. So you can play ping pong. You can swim in our saltwater pool. We have a giant trampoline. We've got kilometers of trails on site. We've got mountain bikes that you can use. It's just a great time. And as I started to say, it's a small enough group that we'll actually get to know each other. I spoke at a festival here a few years ago called the Envision Festival, where there were thousands of people. And I've been there, in fact, a few times. You see someone, you say, I'll see you later in the weekend, and then you never see them again because there's literally so many people there. Here, you're going to actually get to know people. And that's personally, maybe because I'm an introvert, I prefer smaller crowds. That's the kind of event that I really enjoy. So let's see, where were we here? Sonia says, mangoes, my favorite fruit, and I'm from India, and my place has some of the best varieties of mangoes I really missed since I moved to the US. Well, if you still have those mango trees in India, and there are the varieties that will grow from seed, please have someone send me seeds, please. I'd love to get every variety possible. We've got 125 acres where we're going to be growing fruit trees, and it would be amazing. My goal is to grow every variety we can get. So I'd love to get some seeds. If you know anyone there who can get them to me, I would be forever grateful to you for that. How long do I sleep? I usually sleep from the moment I go to sleep until the moment I wake up. And I always limit it to that period of time. That just seems to me to make the most sense. Typically, that's 5 to 6 hours. It's probably not as much as my body would be happy to have. I usually like to get at least 7 hours, but honestly, I'm so overcommitted right now. I've got so much going on that hasn't happened in quite a while, and it's not likely to happen too often. Okay. Sumarine says, I always craving food. I have hyperacidity. Okay, well, fasting, come fast with us. You'll be amazed by what happens. It completely changes your relationship with food and your body. And you will probably feel and function better than you have in a long, long time if you do that. Go to the website, tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com. Check it out. It's an amazing thing. Figure out a way to get yourself here. Hey, Loren, what's your advice for anyone with severe addictions? Well, the first piece is, are you really willing to let go of the addictions? Because a big piece of that's often emotional and psychological. If you are, and you're willing to get yourself free of the substance, again, come fast. Because when you get the physical substance out of your body, there is no more physical addiction. That's the end of that. That's the single most efficient and effective way to eliminate those problems. Okay. Good morning, Judy. Good to see you as well. Let's see. You're very welcome, Sonia. Elena says, what's your take on parasites? Well, parasites are common and not really such a huge problem if your body's healthy, maybe even serving us in some way. But unfortunately, people's bodies are so unhealthy, they wind up becoming overwhelmed with parasites. Again, we can eliminate those parasites through fasting and then rebuild a healthy body afterward. And if you're dealing with that issue, Elena, I would encourage you to contact me, because we can help you completely shift that reality. Now, I'm going to have to get going, folks. I've got a lecture here in just a few minutes. So as I wrap up here, I apologize if I didn't get to your questions or didn't get a chance to greet you. I'm really, really thrilled to see so many people here, and I hope this is beneficial for all of you. I really love doing this. It'd be great if we were all actually together, but it's great that we can connect this way as well. Let me say, for those of you, that are here that might be interested in actually creating a whole new reality for your health, where you feel and function better than you ever have, our prices are about to go up. So this would be the time. Contact me, info@tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com, or go to our website and send me a message from there. And I can, in the next week, if you can reserve now, you've got two options. You can lock in our rates where they are now. You can come in 2 years. You just need to pay the deposit now, and then you pay the balance before you come. Or you can pay in full and actually save 10% before the rates go up, which means like more than 20% off of the new rates. If you know you're coming and you're in a position to do that, it's probably going to make sense for you, and it's going to help us. The reason we're offering is because we've got this big project where we need to raise a lot of money, and you're going to help us move that project forward. Right now, everything coming in, if it's not being invested here, it's being invested over there. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you know you're coming, you probably want to go make that happen. Get that space committed, even if you don't know when. That's okay. You can make the commitment for a future stay with us and lock in your lowest rates possible today. Remember, the same thing's true at the Fruit Festival. Yes, with hyperacidity, you can definitely fast. It's no problem whatsoever. Casey just found you recently, but love the clarity and sensible view. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things I've constantly been accused of, and that's being logical. And so, you know, you're not going to hear some crazy theories. I mean, you know, it's possible there are things, I'm sure there are many things we really don't understand. But if something sounds completely illogical and there's no science to support it, it probably is. You know, everything that I talk about, if it's not already been vetted, and there are some things that haven't been studied by science, understand that the lack of a study doesn't mean that something's invalid. It only means it hasn't been studied yet, right? But, you know, if something really sounds absurd and there's no science to support it, and there's science to support the opposite, chances are good it really is absurd. Okay, there's a lot of things like that people believe primarily because they want to. You're not going to see me going that way. So, folks, I'm going to have to wrap it up here. I've got to be out there in just 2 minutes with my guests here. We're full as usual, and it's wonderful here, and it's great to connect with you. So I will be back, and this, I apologize. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I went live at 9 o'clock, just as I said I would, and I'm watching, and there's no one there, and there's no one there, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? It looks like I'm live. You know, normally we would have a lot more people. Right now we've got 78 of you here, and I couldn't believe it. For 15 minutes there was no one there. And then I realized, and I've only done this on YouTube. This is my second week. I did it a couple times like 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, but I hadn't done this in a long time. I'm getting ready for my lecture out there, which we record on an iPhone. So I've got to get a camera here. Excuse me, a microphone here down my shirt. I've only done this. This is my second week now, second time in several years. And what I didn't realize was that I forgot when I went to set it up at the beginning, I needed to it starts, the default setting is private, and I needed to click on public. And so I was there by myself for 15 minutes and then realized and turned it off and started over again. So we had less time together today because of my mistake. Next week, I will be live. You know, if not at 9 o'clock, it might be a few minutes after, because I have an 8 o'clock call, which sometimes, you know, is a little bit hard to get off of on time. Not usually, but chances are good. If it's not at 9 o'clock, it'll be just after, right? So I'll look forward to seeing you then. And don't mind me, I'm just I've got to open my pants to get the cable to the microphone out so I can connect to the cable that goes to the camera. In any case, I'm going to sign off. It's been great being with you here today. If you've enjoyed this, thumbs up would be great, and feel free to share this with anybody you'd like to on your Facebook page or on your YouTube or whatever you like. And I'll hope to see you soon. Remember, folks, if you want to come join us, this would be the time to make that happen. Feel free to reach out and write to me, and I'd be glad to be in touch with you. Okay? It's been a pleasure being with you. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.